death due to lack of oxygen was specifically reported by states and union territories during the second COVID-19 wave. This was the Government of India's response to a question in Rajya Sabha today. When we crumbled under the brutal second COVID wave, when India was struggling for every breath, when hospitals were in SOS mode, when oxygen was the rarest commodity, when we lost lives as oxygen ran out.
2 घंटे तक पेशेंट जो हैं बिना ऑक्सीजन के तड़फ रहे थे और सर बिलीव मी बाईपैप लगे हुए जितने पेशेंट थे एनआईवी सपोर्ट वाले सारे खत्म हो गए।
रात को 1 बजे इनका कॉल आया कि आपके फादर को एक बार मिल लीजिए, आके यहाँ आया हूँ तो आपके फादर एक्सपायर हो गए हैं। मैं कहा किस रीजन से? ऑक्सीजन के रीजन से। इतना पैसा मैं लगा रहा हूँ, ऑक्सीजन का सिलेंडर में 6 अरेंज करा देता कि मुझे बता देते तो।
वी आर नॉट गेटिंग ऑक्सीजन, हमें ऑक्सीजन नहीं मिल रही है और हम लोग बैकअप प्लान पे हैं जो कि कुछ ही घंटे में खत्म हो जाएगा।
When the Government of India says in Parliament on the floor of the Rajya Sabha that no death due to lack of oxygen was specifically reported by states and union territories during the second COVID-19 wave, it is imperative to ask, is our government in denial? Top focus on To The Point this evening. Good evening, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Choudhary. So it was on the second day of the monsoon session. Today was the second day of the monsoon session. A written question was asked. A written question was asked by KC Venugopal from the Congress. The question said, and I want to read it out for our viewers, whether it is a fact that a large number of COVID-19 patients died on roads and hospitals due to the acute shortage of oxygen in the second wave. This question, viewers, was addressed to the Health and Family Welfare Ministry, to which came the reply. Now, the reply says, the operative part, and we are quoting, that no death to lack of oxygen were specifically reported by states and union territories during the second COVID-19 wave. This was the government's written response to the question, like I said, which was posed by Congress leader KC Venugopal in Rajya Sabha. However, in the same letter, which was of course a written response, the government also says that stated that there was an unprecedented surge in demand for medical oxygen during the second wave, and it peaked at nearly 9,000 MT compared to 3,095 MT in the first wave, following which the centre had to step in to facilitate equitable distribution amongst the states responding to a question on whether a large number of COVID-19 patients died on roads and hospitals due to acute shortage of oxygen in the second wave. The response was put forth not by the Health Minister but by the Minister of State for Health, Bharati Praveen Pawar. She noted that the health is a state subject and states and union territories regularly report the number of cases and deaths to the centre. Detailed guidelines for reporting of death have been issued by the Union Health Ministry to all states and union territories. Accordingly, all states and union territories report cases and deaths to the Union Ministry on a regular basis. This was the response in writing. However, no death due to lack of oxygen reported by states, which I quote here, have been now specifically reported and picked up by the opposition and the press. Mr. Pawar said in a written reply there that no deaths due to oxygen shortage claimed by the MOS Health Bharati Pawar has resulted in a massive controversy as well, with the question now being posed if the Indian government was in denial about the many lives that were lost across the country due to oxygen shortage. I want to take you viewers now through some of the official record through the second wave of COVID, where hospitals officially stated that they lost lives due to the shortage of oxygen. Batra Hospital said that 12 patients died due to oxygen shortage. District Hospital, King Koti in Hyderabad officially stated 7 deaths due to suspected oxygen shortage. Vishwajit Rane, which is the Goa Health Minister, he said that 26 patients died at the GMCH hospital due to oxygen shortage. This is just a few examples that we are giving you where oxygen shortage was reported directly as a cause of death. So what is the government trying to say when it answers in Parliament that no deaths took place due to lack of oxygen as reported by the states? I want to cut across right now to our health reporter Milan, who's gone through the entire response of the government in Rajya Sabha today. Milan, what is it that the government was trying to say, that there were no deaths in the COVID second wave due to lack of oxygen, or there were no deaths reported by states and union territories which said that people died due to lack of oxygen?
Well, Preeti, at this point, what is being clearly said by the government is that states and union territories have not reported deaths that have occurred due to shortage or lack of oxygen. This is a paradox because we have on India Today and Aaj Tak itself reported, like a lot of other reporters, and shortage of oxygen and complaints that were then taken up by the hospitals. There have been instances of people dying due to lack of oxygen in many states, not just in Delhi, but in Uttar Pradesh as well as in Goa and several other states. However, there have been court cases which have been taken up by the Supreme Court as well as High Court on pleas filed by people where patients who did not get oxygen on time and who were suffering from COVID-19 in the second wave have died. This current response comes to a response in question that was asked by K.C. Venugopal.
Right.
And the center there squarely puts the blame on the states because a lot of committees were also formed in these hospitals to ascertain whether really these deaths did happen due to the lack of oxygen or not. Several committees, Preeti, let me tell you, of these hospitals have also said that lack of oxygen cannot be ascertained as the only cause of death,
Right.
which is probably why the states have not reported to the central government.
Tell me something, Milan. What is the response of the various state governments? Because multiple times we have had the Aam Aadmi Party, which has constantly cried the lack of oxygen as to the reason of many deaths that took place in the national capital. We've had on record the health minister of Goa state saying we lost more than 20 people because oxygen ran out. Now, the government, the MOS Health in Parliament has said that states never reported any death, not a single death, due to lack of oxygen. Are the states concurring with what the MOS Health had to say today in Rajya Sabha? Do they agree with it or are they contesting it?
Well, Preeti, the claim that the government is making is squarely based on the data that has been provided by the states to the union government. And that is what is the problem here, because the central government says that it's subject. And they have never asked states either to hide data of deaths due to COVID or because of shortage of oxygen. Since they have not received any death from the states, they are then saying that states have not reported or any union territory has not reported the death. The opposition has definitely taken up this matter, but we must remember that several governments, whether it's the Congress government or the BJP government or the Aam Aadmi Party government or any other party government, they have all refused and refuted the fact that yes, we did indeed see a lot of people die due to lack of oxygen on roads and outside.
All right, well, you know, we didn't need to see, it was quite omnipresent. Appreciate you joining us, Milan, because ultimately whoever is watching this news broadcast, between what the centre said in Rajya Sabha or possibly what the states did not actually officially report, ask the citizens of this country, of many states, of how many of their loved ones actually died because of lack of breath, lack of oxygen. We're going to keep a keen eye on this story as it develops, because there is bound to be reactions, especially in Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha tomorrow. I'm going to quickly now shift focus to the other big developing political story that we're tracking very closely from Punjab. All right, viewers, the Congress might have thought that they had a compromise formula, but both Navjot Singh Sidhu and Captain Amrinder Singh are far away from the compromise table. There is no end to the bitter fight. The festering feud continues. The latest in that is that Captain Amrinder Singh says will not meet the newly minted Congress president in Punjab till the time he apologizes for his various derogatory tweets to him. Now, the newly minted president has dug in his heels. Navjot Singh Sidhu, nothing doing, I'm not going to apologize. What's also happened is, viewers, various loyalists of both of them have split the Congress even keel in support of Sidhu and Amrinder. Now, the newly appointed Punjab Congress Committee Chief Camp has rejected the captain's demand for a public apology over Sidhu's tweets against the Chief Minister. Now, sitting Congress MLA from Jalandhar, close aide of Sidhu, Pargat Singh, launched a scathing attack on Amrinder. He says that if somebody has to apologize in all of this, it should be the Chief Minister because he has failed to fulfill the promises made to the people. Earlier, Amrinder's supporter turned adversary, Cabinet Minister Rajinder Singh Bajwa, who met Sidhu a short while ago, had advised Captain to forgive Sidhu over his tweets. The Captain, meanwhile, meeting Congress Punjab in charge Harish Rawat on Saturday, had said that Navjot Singh Sidhu had made 150 derogatory tweets, questioning and embarrassing the functioning of the Punjab government. He had also refused to meet Sidhu unless a public apology was tendered. Meanwhile, Sidhu faced farmer anger at Khatkar Kalan near Naushahar. The protesters belong to the Kirti Kisan Union, shouting slogans. Of course, those visuals on the left-hand side that you see is of Sidhu in Amritsar. A lot of supporters coming in. Once again, COVID protocol thrown to the wind. I want to cut across right now to Rajdeep Sardesai, our consulting editor who's in the studio with us to break down on what is taking place in Punjab. Rajdeep, the feud still festering. How do you see things go on? Will Amrinder actually accept what's going on, or he's dug in his heels?
I think we have to see this feud, Preeti, taking place at various levels. One, of course, is that there has been this no-holds-barred battle of the Sardars, acrimonious battle that has played out, in which Amrinder has lost this round. You know, with the appointment of Navjot Sidhu, with the appointment of 4 individuals, none of whom can be called true Amrinder loyalists, it's obvious that the party high command has decided to put its weight behind Navjot Sidhu. Amrinder therefore is fighting with his back to the wall. He's 79, Sidhu is 58. So therefore there's a generational difference, and there's a sense now that even if the Congress wins in February in Punjab, Sidhu will be the Chief Minister and not Amrinder. So the worry now is that what does Amrinder do? Amrinder can only do a show of strength. I'm told tomorrow he will get his MLAs together and has invited all the MPs to his residence. Remember, in the Punjab, MPs, 11 out of the 12 have indicated that they did not want Mr. Sidhu to be made the PCC chief. So I think Amrinder is boxed in. He's fighting with his back to the wall. And therefore, therein lies the danger for the Congress. Because if they launch if Amrinder gets his supporters in some way to launch a non-cooperation against Mr. Sidhu, it hardly benefits the Congress. That's at one level in Punjab. But I think it's important to recognize that there's not just a battle in Punjab, but in Delhi.
Rajasthan as well?
No, but I'm saying in Delhi in the context of the Gandhi family and what they've decided. My sense, Preeti, is that the Gandhi family, by pitching its weight behind Navjot Sidhu, in a sense is sending a message to all the old guard. In a way that, so far and no further. So Amrinder Singh has had his term in office. It's been his second term. You've got to move on. And I can see the imprint in that sense of Rahul and Priyanka Gandhi in supporting Amrinder Singh. So there are two battles, one in Punjab and one the slow control of the party which is being taken by the Gandhis.
What's the fallback, Rajdeep, of this? Because I'll ask you two questions. Where Punjab is concerned, there seems to be now a split within the ranks of the Congress of loyalists, and they're very vocal, outrightly coming in criticizing the other. Now, that is happening at one level where you're 6 months before elections. On the other hand, what's the fallback to a state like Rajasthan? Because Sachin Pilot can come out and say the same, that you've given it to him. What about me?
I tweeted this afternoon something very interesting. All the newly elected Congress chiefs, state Congress chiefs, Nana Patole in Maharashtra, Revant Reddy in Telangana, and Navjot Sidhu are all people who had links with the BJP. Nana Patole was once a BJP MP, Navjot Sidhu was a BJP MP, Revant Reddy was in the ABVP. But they are all younger, they are more vocal, and they are more aggressive. My sense, therefore, is that the Congress is looking for people who are willing to be aggressive against the BJP. Sachin Pilot last year, you might recall, was accused of hobnobbing with the BJP, trying to bring down the Gehlot government. Is the Congress leadership therefore going to fully trust Sachin Pilot at this stage and give him what apparently they promised him, which was that at some stage there would be a handover of power from Ashok Gehlot to Sachin Pilot? I don't see that happening right away, but Sachin Pilot, you're right, could well say, look, you are giving the younger leadership a chance in Punjab, you're giving it in Telangana, you're attempting it in Maharashtra, what about me?
I'm going to ask you one quick question, Rajdeep, before we close the show. Are the Gandhis possibly, maybe even looking to sacrifice an election to make an organizational change, say Punjab, and to send a larger message?
Look, it seems that many of the MLAs believe that there was anti-incumbency building up against Captain Amrinder. Captain Amrinder's supporters say, look, he's won every election since 2014. It's the one state in North India that's resisted the Modi wave. However, the inputs that have come in, I believe, to the Congress leadership is that Sidhu is a vote catcher. Sidhu is a crowd, but I want to make a distinction between being a crowd puller and a vote catcher. Sidhu is a crowd puller. He's an untested vote catcher. I don't think that the Gandhis are willing to sacrifice Punjab. They can't afford to sacrifice a state.
But to make a decision like that 6 months before elections?
I think therefore, it's not just about Punjab. They've decided across the country, we are going to try and put in place state leaders who will be aggressive, younger, and take on the BJP in the hope that they will win. Not as we are not sacrificing the state. We believe that we have a better chance now with these younger leaders. It's a gamble. You could call it a gamble. I think they've gambled with Sidhu.
But 3 months down the line, when tickets have to be distributed, Amrinder Singh is not going to take it lying down.
Absolutely. So I think, and that's why I said they've taken a gamble that can easily backfire, Preeti, because there is every possibility that the more you box in Captain Amrinder Singh in the way you are, Captain Amrinder Singh is not someone who's going to take it lying down. You've seen in the last couple of days, he's making it very clear. Sidhu's going to have to apologize, make a public apology. He's bringing his supporters together. We don't know where it will lead. There's always been at the back, there's been talk over the last few years, even in 2016, that Captain will form his own party. I'm not sure he can do that at 79. I'm not sure. But the possibility certainly exists that he is going to assert himself. Right. And an assertive Amrinder Singh and a Navjot Singh Sidhu, on the other hand, belligerent. It's a recipe potentially for conflict, and that's not ideal for the Congress in a state like Punjab.
Well, we'll only know in the next 6 months' time. Till now, it does seem the skipper has got the better of the captain, but which Singh will be king, where the Congress is concerned, well, we'll only know in days to come. And of course, cliches galore where politics is concerned. A quick break. Up next is Rahul Kanwal.